The Battle of Long Island really should be called the Miracle of Long Island. This is what happened. The American soldiers were doing so well, the British knew that they were not going to just hand America over to a British form of government. So England figured, in order to take a country over, they would have to divide the colonies right in the middle and cut off supplies from the north and the south, then take over New York Harbor. George Washington addressed his troops. Men, we've got to head north and defend New York City and its harbor. The British are heading there right now. Make haste. Our cause is just. Fight hard for our cities and for our liberties. Washington marched his 1,800 troops, mostly fresh from farms and untrained for war, towards New York City. By late August, General William Howe had 32,000 British troops and decided to land on Long Island. Washington made a mistake by dividing his troops and weakening his position. One half were with him on Long Island and his other men safe in New York. The battle began with British warships bombing Long Island. Washington knew now that he was trapped with no way of escape. While the bombing was going on, General Howe landed his troops and began the invasion. The bombing suddenly stopped, and since it was getting late in the day, General Howe set up camp for the night. He figured in the morning he would bag the old fox himself, Washington, and the war would be over. Nightfall came, and Washington tried a desperate plan to leave Long Island and row across his 9,500 men. Right under the cover of the British, he began the rowing. It just so happened that he had some expert rowmen and that a windstorm came up the East River, blocking the British ships from coming in and squeezing them like a pancake. The wind was howling and the waves were splashing over the sides of the boat, but slowly the men were being rowed back and forth and back and forth, 1 mile each direction. The wind stopped, and now more men could be rowed across without the waves swamping the boats, but they had to move ever so quietly, for the British were just a stone throw away, and they would hear the rowing back and forth. Blocking the view of the evacuation was some of Washington's soldiers lined up straight as bean poles to form a wall. About 2 a.m., the wall was gone. The soldiers left their positions, thinking it was their turn to be rowed across. Washington came up and panicked, finding his men gone by a mistaken order. The whole rowing operation was in view for a half an hour without the British guards noticing, by the light of full moon. The soldiers returned to form their wall. Then came dawn, and only one half the soldiers were gone, and with the sun coming up, they would now be discovered. But this time a heavy fog came up the East River, blinding the British from sight. The fog lasted several hours, and it was just the right timing. For as soon as the last boat left shore and was beyond shooting range, the fog lifted. The British charged in for the kill, finding the whole American army had escaped like a fox out of a bag. They ran down to the shore and began shooting, but it was no use. The Americans gave cheers, and the British just sobbed. Now, would you say the wind, expert oarsmen, blinded British guards, and fog were just luck? No, by golly. As many of the soldiers later wrote in their diaries themselves, they said it was the hand of God. The Bible says, if God be for us, who could be against us? If you're a Christian and you live for Jesus with all your heart, you'll win the battles of life and escape the dangers of the unseen enemy, Satan. He may think he's got you bagged like a fox, but God's got other plans for you, if you let him. My favorite Bible verse could fit in well here. Proverbs chapter 3, 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart. Lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path.